Hey everyone, and welcome. Think of this as our fun little study group for PP 5361. We're going to be breaking down the big ideas from Chapter 14 of our textbook, Managing Human Behavior in Public and Nonprofit Organizations. This chapter is all about a really powerful idea called the new public service. So let's get in.
To really get us in the right mindset, this quote from JFK just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sets the stage for what we're about to dig into. What is the soul of public service? It's a really high bar, right? And what's great about this chapter is that it gives us a framework for thinking about how we can actually live up to that.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the one big question that drives this whole chapter. Then we'll look at two very different answers to it: new public management and its alternative, the new public service. We'll break down the NPS playbook, really focus on this critical idea of citizens versus customers, and then wrap up by thinking about what all this means for your role in our democracy. Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. This whole chapter, and really our entire field of study, is all about tackling one huge fundamental challenge. And this is it. This is the big one. This is the question that every single public and nonprofit manager has to keep asking themselves day in and day out. It's not just about being efficient or hitting your quarterly targets. It's about how you do the work. Are your actions actually making our democracy stronger? Are they really, truly serving the public interest? This question needs to be our North Star. So for the last few decades, a really popular answer to that question has been to look over at the private sector and say, hey, let's do what they're doing. This whole approach is known as New Public Management, or you'll see it as NPM. The core idea behind NPM is pretty straightforward. Run government more like a business. The thinking was, treat the public as customers, focus on market-style efficiency, and encourage managers to be more entrepreneurial. The goal was to shake up what many saw as old, slow, clunky bureaucracy and make public service more dynamic and focused on results. And look, to be fair, NPM got some stuff done. It absolutely led to some real results. It forced a much-needed conversation about efficiency, it helped streamline services, and it did strengthen certain kinds of accountability. But treating citizens only as customers, well, that started creating a whole new set of problems, which got people thinking, is there a better way? So that's the big question. Is the business model the only model we should be looking at? Is it even the best one for public service? This chapter presents a really powerful alternative that says no, our primary guide shouldn't be the market, it should be the values of democratic governance. And this is what's called the new public service, or NPS. This slide just lays it all out so clearly. The difference between these two philosophies is just stark. On one side, you have NPM, which is all about steering, like a captain of a ship, and it values market efficiency. But on the other side, NPS is about serving. It values democratic governance, and it's much more like being a gardener, trying to help the community flourish. One sees customers, the other sees citizens. It's not just a small change in language, it's a completely different worldview. Okay, so if we're going to buy into this new public service idea, what does that actually look like on the ground? What do we do? Well, the authors give us a 7-part playbook that really breaks down the core principles. Let's walk through it. So here they are, all 7 principles that really form the foundation of NPS. As we go through them, you'll see how they all build on each other to create this totally different vision for what it means to be a public servant. Just seeing them all listed here, you can already get a powerful sense of the overall philosophy. The very first principle totally reframes the job of a public administrator. Instead of being that captain trying to steer the ship of state in a direction you've decided on, your job is to be more of a facilitator. You're there to help citizens figure out what their shared interests even are, and then you act as a kind of broker to help them find solutions. The bottom line is, you're not in control, you're in service. Now, this one is so important. In the old NPM model, the public interest is basically just adding up what all the individual customers want. But NPS says, no, the public interest is something we actually have to build together. It's something that gets hammered out through dialogue and debate, creating a shared vision for the community, not just a collection of individual demands. This principle really gets at the idea that how you do something is just as important as what you're doing. You can't just cook up a brilliant plan behind closed doors and then force it on people. To have any real legitimacy and to be truly effective, both the policy and the way you implement it have to involve citizens and communities. It's all about achieving your goals through democracy, not by going around. Okay, we've got to pause here for a second. Before we go any further, we need to zoom in on a concept that is absolutely 100% central to this entire model. It's this distinction between a customer and a citizen, and honestly, it changes everything. I mean, think about it like this. A customer's main focus is their own self-interest. What's in it for me? What can I get? But a citizen thinks bigger. A citizen sees themselves as part of a larger community, and they're willing to take on responsibility for the collective good. This one little shift in perspective is the absolute philosophical heart of the new public service. And that is exactly why this fourth principle is so critical. It flows directly from that distinction we just talked about. Your job isn't just to satisfy a customer's individual demand, but to engage a citizen's sense of shared responsibility. You're trying to build relationships based on trust and collaboration, not just conduct the series of transactions. You're working with citizens, not just for customers. You know, in the business world, accountability can sometimes seem pretty straightforward. You look at profits, losses, customer satisfaction scores, but for a public servant, it is a much more complex web. You're accountable to the law, sure, but also to professional standards, to the values of your community, and to this idea of the public interest. It's not a simple scorecard. It's a constant, delicate balancing act. The new public service gets something really important. Most of us get into this work because we genuinely want to make a difference. So real success can't just be measured by productivity metrics. It's about creating an environment of respect and collaboration, both inside your own organization and with the public, that actually empowers people to act on that desire to serve. And finally, the last principle really brings it all home. Public administrators are not entrepreneurs risking their own capital. You are a steward of public resources. The government is owned by the citizens. Your role is to be a facilitator of that democratic process and to act on that awesome responsibility with care and integrity, not to act like you're the owner of the enterprise. Okay, so that's all the theory behind the new public service. But what does this actually mean for you as a future manager or a leader in a public or nonprofit organization? What are the skills you actually need to put all of this into practice?
This is basically the practical toolkit for an NPS leader. And you see the pattern here, right? It's so much less about command and control and so much more about collaboration. It's about facilitating conversations, really listening to what people are saying, brokering different solutions, and most importantly, sharing power so that a shared vision can actually emerge from the community itself. So as we wrap up our little session here, I want to leave you with this final thought. The public interest isn't some fixed point on a map that you can just find in a book or a policy memo. It's a living, breathing thing that we all create together through a constant, ongoing dialogue. And so the real question for all of us as we step into our careers is this: how are we going to design our processes, and how are we going to build our relationships to make sure that every single voice, especially the ones that are so often ignored, has a real chance to be heard in that conversation?